Welcome back. We're going to be on section 4, which covers loop. And in this section, we are going to summarize and implement a variety of different looping structures, the for loop, the while loop, and the do while, which may be unfamiliar to you. We're also going to use these looping structures in order to be able to force valid input. We're going to use the break and the continue statement. Now, the break statement we were using last section in our switch. We're also going to be nesting the structures, not only the looping structures, but the if structures as well. And then finally, we're going to be learning about the enumeration data type. So here's a for loop. Remember, C++ is a case-sensitive language, so all the command structures will be in lowercase. So here's an example of for loop with some kind of a start value and a condition that will be evaluated. And then as long as the condition is true, it will continue to loop. And then, of course, we have to be able to change that condition so we don't get in an infinite loop. So this is what this might look like. So let's say we're going to have some kind of a counter variable that starts at 0. We're going to check the condition each time, and then we're going to post increment the counter variable. Now the for loop counts up, it counts down, it counts by 2, and it counts by 20s, but the for loop is really good at counting. The next type of a loop is a while loop. The while loop still has some kind of a start value. We're going to check the condition as well, but now we're going to change the condition within the while loop itself. This is an example of what that might look like. We're going to replicate the for loop with this while loop, having some kind of an integer counter variable. The same condition, we're going to loop as long as our counter variable is less than 10. But now, the change of the condition is going to take place inside of the while loop. Now, the for loop and the while loop are preconditional because the condition is evaluated before the loop is ever executed, which means the potential exists that the for loop and the while loop are never executed at all. So now here's an example of a while loop, a do while loop. So we have the do command and then the braces, and at the end of the while, the do while, is where the condition is evaluated. That means that the things inside of the parentheses or the braces will always execute at least once. Once again, we have to change the condition inside of the do while. This is called a post-conditional loop because the condition is evaluated at the end of the looping structure, which means that this loop will execute at least once. Now, because the change of the condition is inside of the do while, that means it's much more flexible than a for loop, which just counts up and counts down, because it doesn't have to be an integer value that we are counting. All right, so we're going to be using Visual Studio to implement these codes. We're going to move out of Replit and into Visual Studio. You're welcome to use any IDE that you would like to. We're going to try something different now. I'm using the Visual Studio Community version because it was free, and it's a smaller install onto my computer. You're welcome to use the full professional version of Visual Studio, which is also free. If you go into the Getting Started module, you'll be able to see our Dream Spark, how you can get that IDE for free. And as always, you're welcome to use any IDE that you would like to.